Welcome to the podcast about Gen Z. Z.
Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever scrolled through your feed and stumbled upon a sound that feels both incredibly familiar, maybe even a little nostalgic, but also totally new and fresh at the same time?
Yeah, like something you half remember, but it hits different now.
Exactly. Maybe it was a guitar riff that just gave you that gut punch, or a lyric that just got you, perfectly articulating a feeling you didn't even know you could put into words.
Uh-huh.
If you're nodding along, chances are you've just dipped a toe into the pop punk and emo revival.
And it's definitely more than just, a fleeting trend that flashes across your TikTok feed and then disappears. For a lot of people, especially your generation, it's a really profound cultural moment.
Totally. And that's what we're getting into today.
Yeah, we're here today to go far beyond simple nostalgia. We're diving deep into cultural analyses and expert reports to truly understand why this music is back, why it resonates so profoundly with you, Gen Z, and perhaps most importantly, what it tells us about our current world and how you are shaping it.
That's right. This isn't just a history lesson on music. It's about how an old sound, a very specific vibe from before many of you were even born, became a vital new language for a new generation.
It's kind of fascinating how that happens.
Isn't it? We're going to explore its rebellious roots, the unexpected twists and turns it took, and then the massive comeback of a genre that many thought was, well, permanently confined to the early 2000s.
On for good, yeah.
Yeah.
Or so they thought.
And what's truly wild is we'll see why it's more relevant to your life today than you might ever have imagined. It's like a secret handshake for feeling all the feelings.
A soundtrack for the complex stuff.
So let's kick things off with what we're calling the mosh pit of the mind, a generational rebirth. When we say that, what does that feel like for Gen Z? Is it just discovering an old band, or is something much deeper happening when you hit play on one of these anthems?
Oh, it's definitely much deeper. It's far more intricate and meaningful than simply discovering an old song your parents might like. The pop punk and emo revival isn't just about people listening to tracks their older siblings or maybe even parents cranked up decades ago. This is a complex cultural phenomena, a genuine re-engagement where your generation has actively taken the genre's core values and reappropriated them.
Reappropriated? How so?
Think of it as a conscious act of recontextualization. You're taking the original ethos, that raw emotional honesty, the catharsis you feel screaming along, and that underlying rebellious spirit, and pulling it from its original timeline, infusing it with new meaning for today's world.
So making it make sense now.
Exactly. It's a powerful statement from a generation that's constantly seeking authenticity and community in what often feels like a hyper-digital, hyper-curated, and sometimes, well, very isolating existence. It's a way to cut through all that noise.
I love that image. Pulling values from one timeline and infusing them with new meaning. It's not just about the sound then, but about the feeling and the message that comes with it. So what were the key drivers that created this perfect storm for the comeback? What made it explode now?
Well, several converging forces really created this moment. Our sources point to social media virality, especially platforms like TikTok, as a massive accelerator, like the ultimate discovery engine,
Can't escape it on TikTok sometimes.
for sure. Then, undeniably, there was the global pandemic, the isolation, the anxiety, the collective uncertainty from lockdowns that created a deep, widespread need for catharsis. People were just looking for an outlet.
A way to scream into the void, maybe?
Kind of, yeah. And finally, the strategic, very high-profile involvement of some recognizable genre veterans. They acted almost as cultural authenticators.
Like passing the torch.
Exactly, like handing over a symbolic torch. All these factors combine to create the ideal environment for this sound to not just return, but to absolutely explode into mainstream consciousness, becoming something profoundly significant.
And what's really important to grasp here is that this isn't just a fleeting moment. It's not going to vanish next month like some viral dance trend.
No, this has roots.
This is something with enduring cultural power, a significant and lasting trend. Now, to truly understand why it's resonating with you today, we need to trace those tears and tremolos back to where it all began. Let's start at the very beginning with punk's emotional heartbeat, the birth of emo itself.
Okay, yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the lineage of emo music traces back to a pivotal moment in the mid-1980s. Picture the Washington, D.C. hardcore punk scene.
Right, hardcore,
Yeah.
intense stuff.
Very intense. A place already defined by raw energy and rebellion. But then a rebellion within a rebellion started brewing. Emo initially emerged as emotional hardcore or emo-core.
Emo-core, okay.
Bands like Rites of Spring and Embrace truly pioneered this new approach. Instead of just focusing on punk's typical aggression, its confrontational stance, or, political rants.
The usual punk things.
Yeah. These bands deliberately subverted that energy. They embraced a sound that was more melodic, more introspective, and intensely, almost painfully confessional.
So turning inward instead of just outward.
Precisely. Imagine a punk show, right? All mosh pits and yelling about the system. Then Rites of Spring comes on, and suddenly they're singing about personal heartbreak and vulnerability with the same raw, unrestrained energy. It was like punk was finally allowed to cry.
Wow. Punk crying. That's a shift.
Huge shift. This foundational principle expressing raw personal feelings as a form of protest against traditional norms is the central emotional thread that has reemerged with such profound significance for your generation. It's truly about vulnerability as defiance.
Vulnerability as defiance. I like that.
Yeah, showing your true self, especially your struggles, is a kind of revolutionary act.
That's a powerful idea. So it wasn't just about being angry, it was about being openly emotionally raw in a way that challenged the expectations of what punk music could be. From that intense, heartfelt beginning, let's talk about the pop punk blueprint. This is where we got those incredibly catchy hooks mixed with undeniable teenage angst.
Right, the stuff that gets stuck in your head for days. Pop punk's origins lie in a brilliant fusion. It took punk's raw, energetic core, that three-chord power and speed, and blended it seamlessly with the melodic craftsmanship of 1960s pop and power pop.
Like the Ramones meeting the Beatles, almost?
Yeah, something like that. Or maybe the Buzzcocks meet the Beach Boys. Fast, energetic tempos, often with guitar riffs that grabbed you instantly, and incredibly catchy sing-along choruses.
Instantly recognizable riff.
Yeah, totally. Bands like Green Day, with their breakthrough album Dookie in 1994.
Huge. Couldn't escape it.
And Blink-182, who exploded onto the scene a few years later, really became synonymous with this sound in the 1990s. Their music, characterized by themes of suburban frustration, alienation, and adolescent ennui, resonated widely and became incredibly popular, dominating airwaves and MTV.
Yeah, the soundtrack to a lot of teenage years back then.
Absolutely. Yeah. But what's fascinating here is that the core philosophical tension that continues to define the genre was present even then. Original punk fans who valued a strict DIY, anti-establishment ethos often accused these bands of selling out by achieving mainstream success and signing to major labels.
Oh, the classic sellout accusation?
It was seen as a betrayal of punk's underground roots. This debate, as we'll see, has cycled throughout the genre's entire history, always questioning, can you be popular and still be authentic? Can you be on MTV and still be punk?
A question that never really goes away for this music, does it? And
No.
that leads us perfectly into the 2000s explosion, where emo pop truly took over, bringing a new aesthetic with it. But even then, that paradox of selling out seemed to intensify.
Absolutely. The early 2000s saw the two genres, emo and pop punk, not just coexist, but truly converge to create a massive cultural phenomenon. This emo explosion was largely driven by bands like My Chemical Romance,
MCR icon.
Fall Out Boy, and Paramore. They really perfected that emo pop sound, blending pop punk's undeniably sticky hooks with emo's dramatic, theatrical introspection and often melancholic, vulnerable lyrics.
Hooks plus feelings. Big feeling.
Exactly. And this musical style wasn't just auditory. It was inextricably linked to a new visual aesthetic that defined a generation. Think skinny jeans that felt painted on.
So tight.
Graphic tees, often with band logos or ironic designs, studded belts, checkerboard Vans, and those iconic, often asymmetrical side-swept bangs that covered one eye.
The swoop. Can't forget the swoop.
Never forget the swoop. This period marked the genre's commercial and cultural peak, saturating teen culture. But it also deeply intensified that long-standing debate about authenticity.
Right, the selling out thing again.
The accusation of selling out isn't a new criticism leveled at the current revival. It's an intrinsic, cyclical part of the genre's history. The very same arguments about commercialization and genre dilution that are made against modern artists were a defining philosophical struggle for bands like Green Day and Blink-182 when they first achieved mainstream success,
Back in the 90s.
and then again for My Chemical Romance as they started packing arenas in the 2000s. This cyclical debate really underscores a core paradox of the genre. A sound that was born from a DIY, anti-corporate ethos is perpetually at war with its own popular appeal.
It's like a rebel who accidentally gets invited to the cool kids table and suddenly has to decide if they belong there. or if the table's even cool anymore.
That's a great way to put it. That internal conflict is key.
That's such an important point. This isn't a new fight for this music. It's like a built-in tension. Now, after that massive explosion in the 2000s, the genre seemed to retreat, to go into dormancy. What caused that shift in the soundscape as we entered the 2010s?
Well, as the 2010s dawned, the dominance of emo and pop punk certainly began to wane. The entire music industry's focus shifted dramatically. Mainstream radio and charts were increasingly dominated by dance pop, EDM, and hip-hop.
Guitars kind of vanished from the radio for a bit.
They really did. Guitar-driven rock music became quite a rarity on commercial airwaves, almost like it evaporated from the pop cultural radar. That specific sound and aesthetic of the 2000s, once ubiquitous, just lost its cultural hold.
Why do you think that was? Just changing tastes?
Partly changing tastes, yeah, but also the music of the previous decade, which had served as such a powerful outlet for a post-9/11 world of collective anxiety and political division, seemed to lose its direct resonance as the cultural climate changed once again. We moved into a seemingly less overtly anxious, perhaps, but more digitally fragmented era. The emotional landscape shifted.
And it wasn't just a musical shift, was it? There was also sociological fatigue and some negative stereotypes that started to attach themselves to the emo label. It became almost a caricature.
Yes, that's a critical point, and it was quite damaging. The subculture also faced significant external pressures and unfortunately became a target for media sensationalism. The emo label, which was once worn as a badge of honor by its adherents, became unfortunately associated with negative stereotypes.
Yeah, I remember some of that. It got pretty unfair.
It did. You started to see public concerns, for instance, about its perceived links to self-harm, social isolation, and even increased suicide rates among youth, often amplified by sensationalist media reports that lacked nuance.
Which is terrible because for many, the music was actually a lifeline, right? A way to cope.
Exactly. But as a result of that negative press, many bands consciously began to distance themselves from the genre, or at least from the emo label, fearing the stigma. The music that had been such a vital, validating voice for the displaced and the outsiders now risked being seen as a harmful influence rather than a healthy outlet.
So they backed away.
Many did. This period of decline, however, was not a complete disappearance. It was more like the genre went into hiding, the strategic retreat underground.
So it went underground. This brings us to the crucial incubation period of the underground revival. How did the genre manage to stay alive, evolve, and effectively gather its strength when the mainstream had seemingly moved on completely?
Well, while the mainstream did turn its back, the genre didn't just survive, it crucially evolved and thrived in the underground. A fourth wave emo revival quietly began in the late 2000s and really flourished throughout the 2010s.
Fourth wave. Okay, who are the key players there?
Bands like Tiger's Jaw, The Wonder Years, Modern Baseball were instrumental in this. They actively rejected the slick, commercialized emo pop of the previous era. Instead, they embraced a raw, do-it-yourself or DIY ethos.
Back to basics.
Totally. Think of artists recording in basements, self-releasing music, playing intimate shows in small venues, VFW halls, that kind of thing. Prioritizing artistic integrity over commercial polish, they drew influence directly from the 1990s Midwest emo scene.
Like American Football or the Get Up Kids?
Yeah, exactly that sound, emphasizing that authentic, unpolished, often more intricate sound. They fostered a tight-knit community, the kind you'd find at basement shows and indie scenes, actively keeping the sound alive and preserving its authenticity at a time when the mainstream had genuinely turned away.
So it never really died, it just went back to its roots.
Precisely. This period of dormancy wasn't a failure, it was a crucial incubation. It provided the fertile ground necessary for the new wave of the 2020s to feel fresh, genuine, and uncommercialized to your generation, proving that the genre's core values were still very much alive and well, just waiting for the right moment to burst back into the light. It's like a secret garden that only a few knew about, but it was essential for the seeds to grow.
Here's where it gets really interesting, the perfect storm of 2020. This is when everything converged to make the revival explode, and one of the most unexpected bridges to all this was emo rap. How did that pave the way for a guitar-driven comeback?
Yeah, it's a fascinating link. The ground for the pop-punk revival was indeed prepared by an unexpected predecessor, emo-tinged SoundCloud rap. Artists like Lil Peep and Juice WRLD, who rose to prominence in the mid-2010s, created a seamless and incredibly impactful blend.
How did they blend it?
They took the confessional, emotionally raw, and often melancholic lyricism that defined traditional emo music and infused it with trap beats and hip-hop production. Think of their lyrics dealing with anxiety, depression, heartbreak, and alienation.
All classic emo themes.
Right, but delivered over 808s instead of power chords. This genre fusion served as a vital bridge. It introduced a new, incredibly diverse generation of listeners, many of whom were primarily consuming hip-hop, to a sound rooted in vulnerability and melancholy.
So it kind of primed the pump, emotionally speaking.
Exactly. It prepared their ears and sensibilities for the more traditional, guitar-driven anthems that would soon follow. It normalized that kind of raw emotional expression in a mainstream context, outside of rock music.
That makes so much sense, connecting those emotional dots across different genres. And then the ultimate sonic time machine entered the chat, TikTok. How powerful was this platform in igniting and fueling the revival?
Oh, massively powerful. TikTok proved to be the single most powerful engine for the entire revival, especially for youth music discovery. As the premier platform for discovering new sounds, its algorithm has this incredible, almost magical ability to resurrect old songs and turn them into viral sounds literally overnight.
One day it's nowhere, the next it's everywhere.
Totally. It brought classic tracks from bands like Paramore's Misery Business, All Time Low's Dear Maria, Count Me In, or Simple Plan's I'm Just a Kid, to literally millions of Gen Z teens who were simply too young to have experienced them the first time around.
So you're scrolling, you hear 15 seconds, and suddenly you're obsessed with a song from 2007.
Precisely. 1 minute, it's a clip with a funny cat. The next, it's Paramore soundtracking a serious moment. And suddenly, a 20-year-old song feels brand new. This algorithm-driven nostalgia created a unique sonic time machine, where a 2000s anthem could suddenly become the trending soundtrack to a 2020s video, without any traditional radio or MTV promotion.
It was direct to the audience, unfiltered.
And incredibly powerful.
And all of this happened during what we're calling the Great Pause, the COVID-19 pandemic. How did that unprecedented emotional environment contribute to this specific sound finding its moment?
The pandemic provided the perfect emotional and social greenhouse for this revival to truly flourish. Think about it. Widespread isolation, pervasive anxiety about health and the future, and that collective social frustration brought on by lockdowns and global uncertainty.
Especially tough for teens.
Incredibly tough. For teenagers who thrive on social connection and independence, this was particularly jarring. All of that created a deep, profound need for music that was as cathartic as it was relatable.
And pop punk delivers catharsis.
Big time. Pop punk's angsty, scream-along energy, its lyrics about feeling alienated, trapped, or misunderstood, provided a perfect emotional outlet for a generation largely stuck at home, feeling those exact things. It proved that its themes of alienation and emotional turmoil were just as relevant, if not more so, than they were in the post-9/11 era. It was the soundtrack to that collective sigh of frustration.
You can almost hear those anthems echoing through empty hallways of suddenly quiet schools. And then we have Travis Barker, the curator, the cultural authenticator. How central was he to all of this, transforming it from a burgeoning underground movement into a full-blown mainstream phenomenon?
No single figure is more central to the revival's mainstream success than Travis Barker, the legendary drummer of Blink-182.
He's basically pop-punk royalty.
Absolutely. He's been there, done that, bought the studded belt. As a producer, he became this pivotal figure, collaborating with a wave of modern artists from vastly different genres, including Machine Gun Kelly, JXDN, and Willow Smith.
So he wasn't just drumming, he was producing, shaping the sound.
Exactly. And his role goes far beyond simple musical collaboration. He acts as a true cultural authenticator. His involvement lends instant credibility to artists from other genres who are pivoting into pop punk. He effectively bridges the gap between the original pop punk era and this new wave.
Like giving it the official stamp of approval.
Pretty much. This critical endorsement helps frame high-profile career pivots not as calculated career moves, but as a genuine passing of the torch from a genre veteran. He lends his authenticity, directly addressing those persistent authenticity debates head-on by essentially saying, yes, this is real, I'm here for it.
It's like the elder statesman of punk rock saying, it's cool, they're with me.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's like he gave the whole movement a seal of authenticity that resonated with both old fans and new listeners. Let's quickly walk through the timeline, some of the key moments that really define this explosive revival.
Okay, let's map it out. It quietly began with those fourth-wave emo pioneers like Tiger's Jaw emerging in the late 2000s, keeping the genre's spirit alive underground with a raw, DIY ethos.
The keepers of the flame.
They are the unsung heroes tending the flame, yeah. Then, in the mid-2010s, emo rap artists like Lil Peep and Juice WRLD gained prominence. creating that genre blend of emo's vulnerability with hip-hop beats, introducing emotional lyricism to a new, diverse audience.
That crucial on-ramp we talked about.
Exactly. By the late 2010s, TikTok trends began to aggressively resurface vintage tracks, with the algorithm becoming a major driver, randomly bringing 2000s anthems to a brand new generation who never heard them before. Just boom, suddenly everywhere.
And then 2020 hit with that massive collaboration that really shifted things into high gear.
That's right. 2020 saw Travis Barker collaborate on Machine Gun Kelly's album, Tickets to My Downfall. This was a high-profile, genre-blending collaboration that was a massive commercial success, shooting pop punk back to the top of the charts and onto global playlists. Huge moment.
Really put it back on the map, commercially.
Definitely. Then, fast forward to 2021, and Olivia Rodrigo releases her debut album, Sour.
Which was massive.
Absolutely massive, injecting undeniable pop-punk sensibilities and guitar-driven angst into the mainstream via one of the world's biggest pop stars. She made it cool for everyone.
And then the festival circuit got on.
Big time. In 2022, the inaugural When We Were Young festival launched in Las Vegas. This was a single massive event that monetized collective nostalgia and proved the immense commercial power and enduring draw of the genre.
It sold out instantly, right?
Insanely fast. It wasn't just a concert. It was a cultural event, a pilgrimage, like you said.
What's fascinating here is that this music truly speaks to your generation, the teenagers listening right now, even if you weren't alive when these songs first came out. Let's talk about secondhand nostalgia, or what some psychologists call anemoia. This is a profound longing for an era you were too young to experience. What does that look like for Gen Z in the early 2000s?
This phenomenon, anemoia, is a striking example of how your generation is interacting with the past. It's a powerful longing for an era you're either too young to experience or not yet born into, specifically the early 2000s.
Why the 2000s, though? What's the appeal?
Well, this isn't just a fleeting feeling of, oh, that looks cool. It often acts as a coping mechanism for a generation navigating an incredibly complex and overwhelming world. Think about it. Constant climate anxiety, profound societal polarization, an endless news cycle, and a hyper-digital existence where every moment can feel curated, commodified, and ripe for comparison.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting.
It is. And through the filter of social media, TikTok trends, and filtered photos, the early 2000s often appear as a simpler time, a carefree era, before constant online pressure, before smartphones made everyone reach multitude of 24/7, before social media made every friend group feel like a competition.
So it seems less stressful looking back.
Exactly. The attraction isn't just to the sounds and the aesthetics, the baggy pants, the flip phones, the simpler internet. It's to the perceived emotional and cultural freedom of the past, a time when perhaps things felt less overwhelming, less monitored, and more genuinely spontaneous. It's a safe escape, a mental vacation to a time that feels less burdened.
So it's a way of escaping or finding comfort in a perceived simpler time, a kind of historical escapism. And that leads directly to the core appeal: emotional honesty and mental health. This genre seems perfectly aligned with Gen Z's openness about these topics, a topic that's thankfully much more openly discussed now than it was in the early 2000s.
Absolutely. That's a key reason for the genre's profound resonance with your generation. Its raw, confessional nature aligns perfectly with your generation's cultural openness about mental health. Unlike previous generations where mental health struggles were often hidden or stigmatized,
You just didn't talk about it.
right, Gen Z is far more comfortable discussing anxiety, depression, and other challenges. Emo lyrics openly address themes that are incredibly prevalent today: heartbreak, relationship struggles, anxiety, alienation, and feeling misunderstood. Feelings that are widely experienced in an era of social fragmentation and digital isolation.
It gives words to those feelings.
Exactly. The music provides a unique, safe space for vulnerability and a much-needed vocabulary for pain that is often lacking in a hyper-polished digital world where everyone tries to look perfect. By singing along to these songs, knowing that thousands, even millions of others are feeling similar things, a new generation is finding a collective sense of understanding and support.
So it makes you feel less alone in it.
It transforms a shared experience of melancholy into a powerful communal bond. It's about feeling seen and heard, knowing you're not just screaming into the void alone.
That's a powerful idea, a vocabulary for pain, a shared language for those often unspoken feelings. And then there's the physical manifestation of that connection, the ultimate release, the mosh pit. It's making a glorious comeback as a ritual of intense release and connection.
Yes, the return of mosh pits to live shows and festivals is a crucial physical manifestation of this communal need, especially in a digitally saturated world.
It feels almost counterintuitive in our screen-obsessed age.
Right. In an era where so much of our interaction is digital, curated, and often isolating, think endless scrolling, DMs, and screens, the mosh pit offers a powerful physical ritual of release, connection, and belonging. It's a collective act of catharsis, a controlled chaos.
Controlled being the operative word, hopefully.
Hopefully, where you're literally pushing and pulling with strangers who share your energy, directly countering the isolating nature of online life. It's a primal scream, a physical embodiment of the shared emotional release.
And it ties into wanting tangible things too, right? Like vinyl.
Definitely. The desire for tangible in-person experiences, whether it be the feeling of a vinyl record in your hand, the tangible weight of a band t-shirt, or the shared sweaty energy of a live show, represents a powerful rebellion against a digital-first existence. This entire revival is, at its heart, a profound statement about Gen Z's relationship with technology.
How so?
As they consciously use the sounds and aesthetics of the past to build a more authentic, more physical present, one where real-world connection is highly valued, even if it means bumping into strangers in a pit.
It's not just about the sound then, it's about the whole package. The look, the algorithm, and the community that lives online. Let's talk about the fashion and aesthetics, which have evolved into a hybrid visual language. It's not just a carbon copy of the 2000s, is it?
No, not at all.
Oh.
The visual aesthetic of the revival isn't a direct replication of the past. It's a modern, hybridized interpretation. Those classic fashion staples of the 2000s, things like studded belts, which used to be ubiquitous, skinny jeans that still cling to your legs, Vans or Converse sneakers, fishnet layers peeking out from under t-shirts, and that heavy black eyeliner, they've definitely made a strong comeback. But the new look is a nuanced blend of influences.
What's blended in?
It takes elements of 2000s emo and scene fashion and fuses them with newer subcultures like the anime-tinged e-boy and e-girl style, the sleekness of K-pop aesthetics, and the comfort and coolness of contemporary streetwear.
So it's like emo meets TikTok meets K-pop.
Kind of, yeah. And this fusion hasn't gone unnoticed by the fashion industry either, with fast fashion brands churning out inspired pieces and even high-end designers like Marc Jacobs and Chanel incorporating pop-punk motifs into recent collections.
Wow, Chanel.
Yeah. This modern interpretation is notably more polished. It's selectively cherry-picking all the best bits of the original style while leaving out what some might call the messier stuff or the less flattering trends.
Taking the good parts, leaving the awkward phase behind.
Exactly. This selective appropriation of nostalgia really demonstrates a greater fluidity and identity for your generation and a rejection of the rigid subcultural labels that often define the original emo and pop-punk scenes. You can mix and match without being fully emo or fully punk. You can be yourself.
And speaking of fluidity in digital life, social media's role here is undeniable. TikTok really is the new MySpace, isn't it? The algorithm acting as A&R, that's artists and repertoire, basically the folks at record labels who used to discover and develop new talent. So the algorithm's doing that now, but driven by you.
It absolutely is. Just as MySpace provided a crucial digital home for the original emo scene, allowing bands to connect directly with fans and share music.
Remember customizing your MySpace profile. Good times.
Oh, yeah. TikTok has emerged as the modern-day equivalent, and it's unequivocally the #1 driver for new music discovery. The algorithm's ability to turn a 15-second snippet of a song into a viral sound has introduced literally millions of teens to a vast catalog of music they would have otherwise never heard.
Suddenly, a band from 2003 you never knew existed is soundtracking every other video in your feed, and you're hooked.
Exactly. This process has not only resurrected old classics, but also propelled entirely new artists to fame, often without the traditional support of record labels or radio. It's created a powerful new A&R model, where the audience—
Meaning you, the listener.
Right, you. Rather than a traditional record label executive in a fancy office, largely decide what breaks through and gains momentum. It's direct democracy for music.
And the pandemic really highlighted the desperate need for digital community building when we couldn't be together physically, fueling these platforms even more.
Precisely. The COVID-19 pandemic, with its forced isolation, school closures, and restrictions on gathering, profoundly underscored the need for digital communities. Online spaces on platforms like TikTok, Reddit, and Discord became absolutely crucial for fans to connect, share their deep love for the music, and build a tangible sense of belonging that filled the void left by the absence of live shows or in-person hangouts.
Finding your people online when you couldn't offline.
Exactly. People needed connection, and these platforms provided it. The TikTok algorithm's ability to create massive communities online around a shared song or aesthetic effectively replaced the physical local scene of the 2000s, where kids would gather at small clubs or record stores.
The virtual basement show.
Kind of. The enduring appeal of the genre, fundamentally, is its innate ability to foster connection and community, regardless of the platform or physical proximity. It moves wherever the fans are.
And that ties into how artists are using direct-to-fan marketing, a really smart, modern take on that original DIY ethos that was so central to punk.
It's a fantastic, powerful evolution of it. Today, musicians are cleverly using social media as a direct-to-fan marketing tool, which is, at its core, a very modern interpretation of that original DIY ethos.
How does that work in practice?
Instead of relying on record labels to promote them, artists are taking matters into their own hands, much like early punk bands making their own zines or recording their own demos. They release snippets of new songs directly to their TikTok followers. They engage directly with their dedicated online community on Discord servers. They ask for feedback. And they build a core following and generate organic buzz before a traditional release.
So the fans feel involved from the start.
Totally. This digital word-of-mouth strategy proves that the genre's core philosophical values, authenticity and direct connection, can be effectively translated and amplified for the digital age, reaching fans directly and powerfully without needing a giant corporate machine in the middle. It's like a global basement show, accessible to everyone.
What's fascinating here is that this isn't just a U.S. phenomenon. This is a global shout, an emo world tour. Let's start with Latin America's incredibly inclusive wave.
It's truly global, and it's evolving in powerful ways. In Latin America, a vibrant new wave of emo has emerged in underground scenes, particularly in countries like Colombia, Mexico, and Brazil. This scene is distinct from its predecessors.
How is it different?
While original emo sometimes struggled with issues of exclusivity or a homogenous audience, these new Latin American scenes have a strong focus on creating safe, inclusive spaces for their community. They're often more diverse, embracing LGBTQ+ artists and fans, for example.
That's a really positive evolution.
It is. What's also incredibly interesting is that we're seeing a repoliticization of the music, with artists actively addressing local issues of social frustration, inequality, and government corruption, infusing the emotional honesty of emo with a renewed sense of protest.
So it's getting political again, like early punk.
In some ways, yeah. The very existence of bands that identify as queer screamo highlights a key point of evolution for the genre, demonstrating how it's shedding old, often rigid, stereotypes and embracing a far more diverse and representative identity. It's emo for a new era, with a new purpose.
And then across to Asia, where we're seeing some really interesting modern fusions that are bringing the emo sound into totally unexpected places.
The influence is absolutely palpable in Asia, creating some thrilling new sounds. Japanese rock bands like One Ok Rock and My First Story have very successfully incorporated pop-punk influences into their stadium rock sound, creating a unique fusion of traditional J-rock energy and contemporary punk motifs.
Big anthemic rock with pop-punk energy.
Exactly. They bring that high-energy anthemic feel. But what's particularly significant is how K-pop artists and groups are also tapping into the emo aesthetic, proving its universal appeal.
K-pop and emo, how does that work?
We're seeing it everywhere, from their musical cues and guitar riffs to their lyrical themes that explore vulnerability and angst, and even their fashion choices, which often mirror that soft goth, edgy emo look. Groups like BTS, Tomorrow X Together, and solo artists such as Woods and Loren are infusing their high-production pop with emo's confessional lyricism and visual language.
Introducing millions more fans to it.
Exactly, introducing millions of fans to these emotional themes. This global diversification is a key indicator of the revival's longevity, proving that the genre's core emotional appeal is truly universal. It can be adapted and reinterpreted within vastly different cultural contexts, far beyond its Western origins.
Let's talk about the business of authenticity, the economic impact of this revival. It's fascinating how the industry has shifted, and the tour and merch economy seems to really reign supreme now.
Well, absolutely. This reflects a fundamental shift in the entire music industry. The old model, which was heavily reliant on record sales, physical albums, and large advances from labels.
CDs and big record deals.
Yeah, that's largely been replaced by ones centered on live performance and merchandise. For artists today, selling even a few pieces of merchandise, a t-shirt, a hoodie, a sticker at a small show, can actually generate more direct personal revenue than tens of thousands of streams on platforms like Spotify or Apple Music.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
It is. This makes touring and merch not just supplementary income streams, but often the primary engine for an artist's livelihood and their ability to keep creating. This shift means the financial viability of a genre is less about its mass market, top 40 appeal, and far more about cultivating a dedicated, loyal fan base who are willing to support artists directly.
So it's more about the dedicated fans than casual listeners.
In terms of direct artist support, definitely. It's a return to fans directly sustaining their favorite creators, much like early punk bands selling zines and shirts out of their trunks.
So those concert t-shirts and hoodies are more important than ever. It's like a tangible connection. And then there's the resurgence of physical media like vinyl and cassette reissues, which feels almost retro but is super popular.
Absolutely. The physical media resurgence has been a significant boon for the revival. Albums from the 2000s are being lovingly reissued on vibrant vinyl records and even nostalgic cassette tapes.
Cassettes. Really?
Really, selling out quickly and often at premium prices to both original fans who want to relive their youth and new young collectors who are discovering the aesthetic of physical music.
Why do you think vinyl is so big again?
Well, these physical artifacts provide a tangible connection to the music that a digital stream simply cannot replicate. Holding an album, reading the liner notes, placing a needle on vinyl, it's an experience. They fulfill a deep desire for ownership, a sense of having something real in a world of fleeting digital files, and represent a subtle rejection of the impermanence of the digital world.
Owning versus streaming.
Right. This revenue stream capitalizes on the deep nostalgia and dedicated fandom of the original audience, while also introducing the physical format to a new generation of collectors who see it as a cool, authentic way to engage with music.
And the ultimate example of this economic power, the pure commercial force of this revival, the When We Were Young festival. It feels like a pilgrimage for fans.
The When We Were Young festival is arguably the most powerful economic example of this revival's strength. This event brings together dozens of legacy bands, all the big names from the 2000s emo and pop-punk explosion, for a single massive gathering in Las Vegas.
A who's who of the scene.
Totally. It directly taps into the collective nostalgia of millennials, the original fans who grew up with this music, and the secondhand nostalgia of Gen Z who are discovering it for the first time. By gathering such an iconic lineup in one location, the festival has grossed tens of millions of dollars in ticket sales,
Tens of millions, wow.
demonstrating the immense commercial power of a proven, live event-driven model. This festival is not just a concert. It is a meticulously crafted, high-margin, experiential product that leverages a specific cultural moment, proving that the genre's legacy can be incredibly profitable when packaged correctly. It's a testament to the fact that community and shared experience, especially in a live setting, are invaluable.
So just to give you a sense of the scale, if you think about streaming, it's pretty low margin for artists. We're talking around $2.83 for every 1,000 streams on platforms like Spotify. That's not a lot to live on.
It's really not. Contrast that with merchandise. Selling just one $30 t-shirt can actually equal the revenue from 13,000 streams before costs.
13,000 streams for one t-shirt.
Roughly, yeah. Think about that. One physical item versus thousands of digital plays. And then the live events like the When We Were Young festival have grossed over $50 million in ticket sales across 3 days.
50 million. That's staggering.
It clearly illustrates why merch and live shows are the essential high-margin revenue streams for artists and the industry today. They are what's truly keeping this music economically viable and allowing artists to make a sustainable living, far outweighing streaming in terms of direct income. It underscores how important it is to support artists directly, whether it's buying a ticket or a band shirt.
This revival has also created a shared language of sadness, bridging intergenerational dynamics in fascinating ways. It's connecting people who wouldn't normally share much in common.
This is truly one of the most heartwarming and profound aspects of the revival. It has forged a powerful bridge between generations that typically have very different cultural touchstones. Millennials, who were the original fans, are now attending shows and festivals with their younger siblings or even their own children.
Imagine a parent and their teenager both singing along to My Chemical Romance word for word. That's pretty cool.
It really is. It's not just passing down music. It's effectively passing down cultural currency and shared emotional experiences. This is a truly symbiotic relationship. Millennials introduce the music, sharing what it meant to them, while Gen Z's recontextualization and emotional openness give it new life, new interpretations, and a fresh sense of relevance.
So both generations gain something.
Exactly. The music's enduring themes of anxiety, alienation, and navigating a confusing world find profound new resonance in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, and global instability, creating a shared language of sadness and catharsis that transcends the age gap. It's a common ground for understanding emotional experiences across different life stages, a collective feeling of we're all in this together.
And for a generation that's grown up with the intense pressure to present a perfectly polished, curated online self, this music offers a unique and vital, safe rebellion. It's like permission to be messy.
Absolutely, that's perfectly put. For a generation that has literally grown up with the constant pressure to present a flawless, curated, and often idealized version of themselves online, where every post, every photo, every comment feels like it's part of your personal brand emo. And pop punk offer a unique, safe rebellion against these hyper-polished pop culture norms.
A break from the perfection pressure.
Exactly. The music provides a space where being sad, angry, vulnerable, or just plain messy is not only acceptable, but actively celebrated as a sign of authenticity. It's okay to not be okay. This aligns perfectly with the genre's original spirit as a safe haven for those who felt like outsiders, the kids who didn't fit in with the popular crowd.
It's still a place for the outsiders.
It is. It's a place where it was genuinely okay to be different and raw, and where your true, complicated emotions were embraced, not hidden or filtered. It offers a counter-narrative to the pressure of online perfection.
But as always with this genre, we have to revisit that authenticity paradox. The selling out debate continues, doesn't it? It seems to be hardwired into the genre's DNA.
Indeed, the revival's massive success has, predictably, reignited that perennial debate about authenticity. It's like clockwork. Critics and old-school fans often express concern that the genre is being co-opted and diluted by the mainstream music industry.
Seeing it's just a trend they're jumping on.
Right. Arguing it's merely trend-chasing and doesn't genuinely understand or respect the genre's true ethos. The term poseur is a key point of contention, often applied to those who adopt the aesthetic without, in their view, understanding or embodying the underlying spirit, history, and DIY values.
The ultimate insult in punk circles. Poseur.
Pretty much. This tension highlights the ongoing core paradox that we discussed earlier. To successfully revive an anti-establishment genre and reach a mass audience like your generation, it often must use the very mainstream, corporatized systems, major labels, high-profile collaborations, and large-scale festivals that punk, in its purest, most rebellious form, was originally created to oppose.
So you need the system to fight the system, almost.
It's a continuous, complex balancing act, a tightrope walk between staying true to your roots and finding a platform big enough to be heard. How do you stay rebellious when you're suddenly popular? It's the million-dollar question for these bands.
That paradox is definitely at the heart of it, a constant internal struggle. Now let's talk about the new faces. The artists who are really leading the charge in this revival and introducing it to millions of new listeners. And we absolutely have to start with Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah, you really have to. While firmly a pop star, Olivia Rodrigo's music is undeniably and deeply indebted to the pop-punk and grunge sounds of the 90s and early 2000s. She has openly cited bands like Paramore and No Doubt as key influences, demonstrating a clear and acknowledged lineage.
You can hear it so clearly in songs like Good For You.
Absolutely. Her breakthrough song, Good For You, from her debut album Sour, perfectly blends a catchy pop melody with an aggressive, angsty, guitar-driven energy that directly channels the genre's raw power. You can hear it in the driving bass line and the explosive chorus.
And she kept that going on her second album, Guts.
She did. On Guts, songs like Brutal and Bad Idea, right?
Yeah.
Double down on this,
Yeah.
featuring distorted guitars, raw vocals, and that distinctive elastic pop-punk bass line and riot girl-inspired guitars that just hit you.
So what's her impact been overall?
Rodrigo's massive mainstream success has had a profound impact. She's created a new pipeline of fans by introducing the sounds, aesthetics, and raw emotional themes of pop-punk to an entire generation of teens who may have otherwise never discovered them through traditional channels. She made it cool, accessible, and undeniable for a whole new demographic.
She basically opened the door wide for so many, proving this sound could be globally massive. And then we have Machine Gun Kelly, or MGK, whose pivot from a very successful hip-hop career to pop-punk was highly debated but undeniably impactful and perhaps the biggest commercial statement of the revival.
Machine Gun Kelly's pivot from a very successful hip-hop career to pop-punk was one of the most high-profile and, as you said, highly debated moments of the entire revival. It was a calculated risk that definitely paid off commercially.
With help from Travis Barker, right?
Absolutely. With the production and creative guidance of Travis Barker, his 2020 album, Tickets to My Downfall, was an undeniable commercial smash hit, topping charts and selling millions. The album was generally praised by critics for its successful genre transition and its energy.
But not everyone was convinced.
No. Some fans from the original scene found the music way too pop and trap, openly questioning its authentic punk credentials, seeing it as more of an appropriation than a genuine embrace. That poseur argument came up again.
So what was his significance then?
Regardless of that ongoing debate, MGK's commercial success proved the genre's viability and brought guitar-driven rock back into the mainstream conversation. It demonstrated to a new generation of artists and industry executives that a raw, guitar-driven sound could once again top the charts and fill arenas.
So Rodrigo felt more organic, MGK more calculated maybe, but both huge.
That's one way to look at it. The stark contrast between Olivia Rodrigo's seemingly organic evolution, a pop star naturally pulling from these influences, and MGK's very public and calculated career move really highlights that central tension of the revival. Is it an authentic reemergence or a calculated career move for commercial gain? Perhaps, as with many cultural phenomena, it's a bit of both, a messy, exciting blend.
And beyond these two, we've seen other key artists and collaborators making waves, further diversifying the sound and its reach, showing just how broad this new wave is.
Absolutely. We've seen artists like Willow, who brilliantly blends pop-punk with alternative R&B and a raw rock energy, showing how fluid genre boundaries have become.
She's great. Very unique sound.
Totally. Then, of course, the previously mentioned emo rap pioneers like Lil Peep and Juice WRLD, who were critical in opening those genre doors for a new audience. Even K-pop groups like Xnary Heroes are incorporating emo and pop-punk elements into their highly stylized sound, proving its global adaptability.
Still blows my mind how far it's reaching.
And of course, Travis Barker remains a central figure not just as an artist, but as a prolific producer and collaborator whose drumming and production aesthetic continues to shape the sound of the revival. He is the connective tissue across so many of these new projects.
So, beyond the initial nostalgia bubble, what's next for this genre? What's the future looking like for pop-punk and emo as it continues to evolve?
Well, I think while the initial nostalgia-driven fever may eventually cool down a bit, the hybridized form of the genre is absolutely here to stay. This isn't just a retro phase that will disappear.
Why do you say that?
Because the core ethos of emotional vulnerability and catharsis has found a permanent home in the broader music landscape. It's influencing everything from mainstream pop to hip-hop and even country music now. The revival isn't an endpoint. It's a powerful catalyst for new fusions.
So more blending, more genre bending.
Exactly. Expect to hear more emo trap punk hybrids, more artists blending raw emotion with modern pop production, and continued blending of raw, guitar-driven sounds with electronic elements. The future is about pushing boundaries, not just recreating the past.
And the power of inclusivity seems like a major factor for its future longevity, transforming its very identity.
It's vital. Absolutely vital. The genre is actively shedding its old, largely homogeneous stereotypes that define its earlier waves. While the original emo and pop-punk scenes were predominantly dominated by straight white men.
Which was definitely a thing.
It was. The new wave is remarkably more inclusive and diverse. We're seeing women and people of color rising to prominence, expanding the genre's audience and lyrical themes significantly, allowing for new stories and perspectives to be told through this sound.
That feels really important.
It is. The global scenes we discussed, emerging in places like Latin America and Asia, further demonstrate this trend, proving that the genre's core themes are universal and can be adapted to new cultural contexts by diverse voices. The greatest strength of this revival is truly its ability to infuse a classic sound with a more inclusive and relevant perspective, making it accessible and meaningful to a much broader audience than ever before. It's no longer just one type of person, it's everyone.
It sounds like it's not about recreating the past note for note, but using its raw materials to build something entirely new, something more reflective of your generation.
Precisely. This revival isn't about simply recreating the past note for note, a perfect sonic replica. It's about using its raw, powerful, emotional materials, the angst, the vulnerability, the catchy hooks, the rebellious spirit, to build something entirely new and incredibly resonant for today.
Using the old bricks to build a new house.
That's a good metaphor. By infusing the genre with new, diverse voices and actively blending it with modern sounds and sensibilities, the revival is creating a stronger, more enduring cultural legacy that reflects the full spectrum of modern youth culture. It's a testament to the fact that the fundamental human need for emotional connection and authentic expression is timeless.
That never changes.
Exactly. Even if the music that provides it is constantly evolving. The revival is a powerful reminder that an old genre can find profound new life when it perfectly meets the emotional needs of a new generation, providing a soundtrack to their unique experiences.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? We've taken a deep dive into the pop punk and emo revival, tracing its rebellious roots, understanding its quiet decline, and dissecting the perfect storm of factors that brought it roaring back to the forefront of youth culture today.
And I think it's clearer than ever that this isn't just a fleeting trend or simple nostalgia. This music, with its raw honesty, its unapologetic vulnerability, and its rebellious spirit, speaks directly to your generation's fundamental need for authenticity, for genuine connection, and for a safe space to express complex emotions in a sometimes overwhelming digital world.
It's proof that feelings never go out of style.
Never.
This raises an important question, though. As you navigate your hyper-digital lives, surrounded by curated feeds and constant noise, what other old sounds or cultural movements might find new life by offering a sense of connection, a vocabulary for your feelings, or a way to express yourself that feels truly authentic?
That's a great question. And how will your generation continue to redefine what authenticity means in an age where everything feels so curated and filtered? Where do you find your safe rebellion against those pressures? Where do you go to just feel all your feelings unfiltered and unjudged?
Lots to think about there. Keep exploring, keep listening, and keep finding the music that speaks to your truth, whether it's a classic anthem from the 2000s that suddenly feels like it was written just for you, or something entirely new that's just waiting to be discovered. The soundtrack to your life is yours to create.